Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We have been discussing about Krishna's individuality from the second chapter, 12th verse, and we have heard different instances where clearly Krishna's individuality is established without a doubt as completely different from the individuality of any other living being. Now, further understanding of who is Krishna can be obtained from Krishna himself describing about himself in the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has totally got 18 chapters. So these 18 chapters, among these 18 chapters, the middle 6 chapters, that is chapter 7 to chapter 12, is specially dealing with pure devotional service or bhakti yoga. So in the 7th chapter, beginning from the 7th chapter, Krishna begins to reveal specifically about his personal feature, about his personal form, about his personality. Krishna begins to reveal from the 7th chapter. Now, the 7th chapter, let us hear the beginning of the 7th chapter, the first 6 verses. What does Krishna say? In the first verse of the 7th chapter, Krishna says, "Now hear, O son of Pritha, Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt." So specifically Krishna is telling Arjuna that there is a kind of a yoga practice which involves becoming fully conscious of Krishna. And also to practice this yoga system, Krishna is telling Arjuna that Arjuna should have his mind attached to Krishna. Mai asakta mana partha yogam yunjan madashraya. In this way, Krishna says, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Asamshayam samagram mam yatha jnasasi tatshrunu. So, Krishna is going to describe about himself. But to understand this description, Arjuna should actually hear this with mind attached to Krishna. So, this is possible only in Krishna consciousness yoga system or bhakti yoga system. So, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport to this verse, in this 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described. Krishna is full in all opulences, and how he manifests such opulences is described in this chapter. Now, complete knowledge of Krishna means knowledge about Krishna beyond the understanding of Krishna's 2 other features called Brahman and Paramatma. Krishna is the absolute truth, and absolute truth, Krishna has 3 features. The first feature is called Brahman or impersonal Brahma Jyoti, and the second feature is called Paramatma, or it is the localized form of the Lord within the heart of every living being throughout the creation. So these two features of Krishna, or the absolute truth, impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, is not complete knowledge of Krishna. It's partial knowledge. Full scientific knowledge about the absolute truth is knowledge about the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. And such knowledge about Krishna, specifically pertaining to his Supreme Personality, is revealed only to a person in Krishna consciousness. Next, in the second verse, Krishna says, I shall now declare to you this knowledge in full. What kind of knowledge? Both phenomenal and nominal. Phenomenal knowledge is knowledge pertaining to everything that is going on in the material world. In the material world, everything is a phenomenon. And everything in the spiritual world is called nominal, where there is no phenomena. Let me try to explain the difference between phenomena and noumena. Phenomena means, let us say, we have experience, we are using these eyes for seeing. Now, for me to see using these eyes, first of all, there has to be light which is illuminating the object I want to see. I cannot see the object in front of me even though I have got proper eyesight, if that object is in darkness. Just like at night you have experience and suddenly electricity goes off. Suddenly you feel as if you have become blind because you can't see anything in the darkness. Similarly, anytime you want to see any object, first of all the object has to be in light. So light is the first requirement. And then what happens when there is light on the object? The image of the object falls on our retina inside our eye. Then there is an optic nerve that communicates to our brain. The optical image is communicated to the brain, and in the brain some processing is done and we come to know, oh, this object what I am seeing is a TV screen, or this person who I am seeing is such and such a person. So there is a phenomena that is happening in my seeing. What is the phenomena? There is the object, light falling on the object is reflected and falls on my eyes, and then the optical image is transmitted to the brain. And mind you, anywhere in between there is any disruption of this whole process of seeing, then I cannot see. You understand? So the seeing is based on a phenomenon. This whole process, it takes little time. Of course, it happens very fast. It doesn't take much time, but there is a small amount of time. It's not instantaneous. It takes little time. Similarly, my hearing. What is that? How does hearing happen? The sound vibration has to fall on my eardrum. And that sound vibration has to be in a certain range. It's called the audible range for a human being. 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, something like that they say. So there are sound vibrations which are beyond this audible range, which we cannot hear or which cannot perceive even if they are there. So audible range only, and the vibration, sound vibration has to fall on the eardrum. Then the eardrum begins to vibrate, and again there is the nerve which communicates to the brain what that vibration is, and then we recognize using some particular feature of the brain that, oh, this is the vibration. And that vibration we recognize, supposing somebody is speaking in a foreign language. You have never heard that language, you cannot make sense of the series of sound vibrations. So then you say, I don't understand, what is he speaking? Or if it is something which is known to you or which is understandable by you, then you recognize that sound to be a particular type of sound. Similarly, everything that we are perceiving using the senses is a phenomenon. Everything in this material world is a phenomenon. In the spiritual world, when a devotee sees, he directly sees. There is no need for any phenomena. There is no need for conditions to be fulfilled for seeing, for hearing, for tasting. Just like on my tongue, if there is no saliva, if there is no moisture, if there is no water, dry tongue cannot taste anything. The tasting medium is the liquid, water. Actually, it's water, rasa. So, therefore, the perception in the material world is always through phenomena, and in the spiritual world it is direct perception without any phenomena. So knowledge as far as the spiritual world is concerned is called nominal knowledge, direct knowledge without any need for any phenomenon. So material knowledge is always phenomenal knowledge. Now Krishna says he is going to declare both material and spiritual knowledge, knowing which there shall remain nothing further to be known. It means complete knowledge Krishna is going to give to Arjuna now in this chapter. And it is explained by Srila Prabhupada in the purport to this verse that complete knowledge can only be achieved by the devotee of the Lord directly from the Lord in parampara system. Either we have to hear from Krishna, this complete knowledge, or from a representative of Krishna like Srila Prabhupada, who is in parampara from Krishna. So therefore, complete knowledge about Krishna can only be achieved by the devotee of the Lord. In the third verse of the 7th chapter, Krishna says, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So, this is very significant what Krishna is telling here, that there are thousands and thousands of people, they are simply busy with maintaining their body. There are 4 primary activities for every human being, including the animals: ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuna, eating, sleeping, defending and mating. They are busy with these 4 activities, and most people becoming busy with these 4 bodily activities, they are not at all interested in spiritual knowledge, in transcendental knowledge. Therefore, Krishna says, when hardly anybody is interested in transcendental knowledge, why will they bother about who am I? What is this world? Why am I forced to undergo any kind of suffering or any kind of misery? I don't want misery, but misery comes of its own accord. So what can I do to completely become free from all suffering, free from all miseries? Nobody thinks in this way because they are simply busy with these 4 activities: eating, sleeping, defending and mating. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuna. Now, among those who are interested in this specific transcendental knowledge, they begin inquiry, Brahma Jignasa. And when the Brahma Jignasa begins, they become interested in knowing themselves, knowing this world, knowing about the truth of existence. And such people, by actually making proper inquiries, can gradually progress in proper understanding about the truth, about themselves, about this world. From the proper source, if they inquire only, they can get to know the truth. And the proper source is the Vedic literature or the scriptures, bona fide scriptures. So, such people, they strive for perfection of understanding the truth. And among those who have achieved perfection, because it takes time, it takes millions and billions of years to cultivate knowledge to ultimately arrive at the perfection of understanding oneself and this world. But even among those who have perfected their understanding about themselves and this world and the truth about everything in existence in this world, still, among those who have achieved such perfection, not everyone knows about Krishna in truth. They may at the most know something about transcendence beyond this material world, some spiritual reality beyond this material existence. But they cannot know what is that spiritual reality. What is the nature of the spiritual reality? What is the truth about the spiritual reality? Who or what is that spiritual truth ultimately? That they cannot know, simply because of their perfection about knowledge in this world. So such people, they have to further advance in ultimate understanding to get the complete understanding of the absolute truth of the spiritual reality. They have to practice bhakti. So those who achieve perfection in knowledge come to this point of practicing or beginning to practice bhakti yoga, and only by bhakti yoga one can know Krishna. And therefore Krishna says most people hardly are interested in transcendental knowledge, and even among those who have achieved perfection in cultivating transcendental knowledge, hardly there may be one rarest of rare persons who actually knows Krishna. Because again, bhakti yoga is very rarely taken up by people who practice spiritual life. Bhakti yoga is very rare. Then in the 4th verse, Krishna explains, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and false ego. Altogether these 8, you can count 8 elements: earth, bhumi, up, that is water, fire, air, ether means sky, mind, intelligence, false ego. Totally 8 elements. These 8 comprise my separated material energies. So Krishna is describing, first of all, in this world there is his material energies in the form of 8 elements. In fact, everything in existence we see around us which is material is nothing but a combination of these 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air and ether. And apart from these are called the 5 gross elements. And there are 3 subtle elements: mind, intelligence and false ego. False ego means ahankara. So manas, buddhi, ahankara. These are subtle. Subtle means you cannot see using your eyes, you cannot hear using your ears. What is mind? You cannot feel like you feel fire, heat of fire or form. You cannot perceive using your sensation of touch. What is mind? You cannot perceive using your ears. What is the sound of the mind? No. So mind doesn't have any of the 5 forms or 5 ways of perceiving the 5 elements. So mind, intelligence and false ego are completely subtle, sukshma. They are sukshma elements or sukshma subtle matter, we say. So this matter consisting of these 5 gross and 3 subtle elements is Krishna's separated material energy. Separated means Krishna is completely aloof from this energy of his called material energy. He is completely aloof. Then besides this, and this Krishna says is his inferior nature. This material energy is his inferior energy or inferior nature. Apart from this inferior nature, Krishna says in the 5th verse of the 7th chapter, there is a superior energy of mind. There is a superior energy, and that superior energy consists of all the living beings, all the living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. So all living entities are also another kind of energy of Krishna. But the living being as energy of Krishna is the superior energy. Now, why superior? Because material energy, which consists of matter, all the material objects, they are actually lacking consciousness, lacking that life force. Whereas the living being has this consciousness or awareness, has the life force. Living being is the life force, the living force within the body. Any living being you take, insect, bird, animal, human being, devata, any form of life, inside the form, there is always the living force or the spirit. So that spirit, individual living being, living entity, is actually another energy of Krishna. It is a superior energy. So superior energy means millions and billions and trillions of living beings, countless living beings. And inferior energy means all the objects of matter or material objects constitute the material energy, including the very planets and the universe itself is consisting of this material, is made up of this material energy. So Krishna is the only controller, and everyone else, all living beings in the entire creation are controlled by him. Everything material is also completely under his control. So Krishna is both controller of matter and spirit. So this is explained by Krishna in the second chapter itself, that he is the controller of everyone and everything in the entire creation. So here specifically Krishna is explaining his control in terms of these two energies, types of energies, material energy, which is inferior, and the superior energy, which is actually the living being or spirit. Krishna himself actually is the supreme spirit. He is also spiritual being. We are also spiritual beings, but Krishna is the supreme spirit. So simultaneously there is similarities between us and Krishna, and there are differences also. So the similarities are, we are conscious beings, Krishna is also conscious being. We are eternal, Krishna is also eternal, but our consciousness is very tiny, and Krishna has consciousness which is unlimited. Krishna's consciousness is spread everywhere, throughout the material world, throughout the spiritual world, throughout the entire creation. Our consciousness is always limited to the body which we inhabit. Even after liberation, we are in our spiritual form, and our consciousness is limited to our own spiritual form. Whereas Krishna does not have a material body, he has only a spiritual form, and that is a specific form Krishna has, and his consciousness is unlimited. So Krishna is aware of himself and his creation and the material world and the living beings and the material objects. Everything Krishna is fully cognizant, fully aware, fully conscious, always. Whereas we, each one of us, we have always limited consciousness, limited awareness, limited power, limited knowledge, limited everything about us. Each one of us is limited. So this difference, Krishna is always unlimited and everyone else is always limited. Even the big devatas, they are hundreds, thousands of times more powerful than any human being. But even the devatas are powerful by limitation. Krishna is supremely powerful. He is most powerful compared to any devata, but Krishna's power is unlimited. Devatas are powerful, but their power is always limited. This difference between Krishna and everyone else is eternally existing. This we have to carefully understand. So, this difference between Krishna and everything else always should be remembered. Supreme Lord Krishna is the only controller. Everyone and everything else is controlled by him. Always, eternally true. Then Krishna says in the 6th verse, of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both its origin and dissolution. That means before this creation, this material world was created, Krishna existed in his original form, in his in his actual form, in the form of Krishna, and matter and spirit, both the energies were resting in Krishna. Krishna therefore describes, I am the origin of everything that is material and spiritual in this world. Means all living beings and all of the material energy itself, everything was resting in Krishna. So at a certain time, Krishna creates or begins the creation, and Krishna does some initial part of the creation. He creates the material elements and he injects the living beings into this material elements, and then further so many development happens, and then the whole creation takes place systematically. That's a very elaborate subject. We'll not go into details. But Krishna is the origin of everything material and spiritual in this world. At the end of this duration of this material universe, end of Brahma's life, everything is going to be dissolved. So Krishna only actually is the dissolution of everything material and spiritual. That means everything material is actually dissolved, and in its original state, the material energy rests in Krishna after dissolution of the whole material creation, and all the living beings in their tiny spiritual form as spirit soul, they rest in Krishna after everything is dissolved, end of the life of Brahma, end of the life of this universe, duration of this universe. So in this way, Krishna is both the origin and the dissolution of everything material and spiritual in this world. So therefore, Krishna is the ultimate cause of all causes. Krishna is the ultimate source of everything. This will be more clearly explained in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. But for now, let us understand what is specifically Krishna's position. He is the origin. He is the ultimate source. He is the controller, supreme controller, ultimate controller. And everything in existence is simply his energies in this world, at least. Everything is his energy. We are all his spiritual energy. Every living being is his spiritual energy. And everything material is his material energy. And he is the Lord who possesses, controls, and enjoys all these energies, both of these energies in its variety. Krishna is the enjoyer. Krishna is the source. Krishna is the controller. Krishna is the master of these energies. So there is a beautiful pastime of Krishna, which I will just briefly mention, and I will describe the details of this pastime in the next session. Krishna, when he appeared on this earth, he performed different kinds of pastimes in Vrindavan, in Mathura, and in Dwaraka. Three principal places of Krishna's pastimes in 3 different forms. In Vrindavan, Krishna is playing the role of a cowherd boy. In Mathura, he is playing the role of a prince as a son of Vasudeva and Devaki, a grown-up son. And in Dwaraka, Krishna is playing the role of the king of Dwaraka, Dwarakadhisha. So in these 3 roles, Krishna is performing many different pastimes, leelas. So one of the leelas Krishna performed when he was in Dwaraka, there is a fight between Krishna as the king of Dwaraka with one Asura, Banasura. Banasura was ruling a particular province, and he had become very powerful by the grace of Lord Shiva. The Asura generally worship either Shiva or Durga or some Devata. So Banasura was a devotee of Shiva, Lord Shiva, and by pleasing Lord Shiva, he had gained a lot of power. And once he prayed to Lord Shiva, I am not satisfied with 2 hands. I want to have 1,000 hands. So Shiva granted that benediction to Banasura that he can have 1,000 hands. And then this Banasura, thinking he had become very, very powerful, he thought, who is there against whom I can fight with this 1,000 hands? He went on smashing mountains, challenging all kinds of people, and became a big nuisance for people in general. So Shiva came one day and said, what is this? What are you doing? He's telling, my hands are restless. I want somebody against whom I can fight and show my prowess with this 1,000 hands. Against whom can I fight? So Shiva thought, this fellow has become so very proud of the power he has got. So now he should be taught a lesson. So Shiva said, actually, there is nobody who is as powerful as you. Therefore, you be satisfied with whatever power you have. And I will actually become your personal guard, and I will protect you against anybody else's attack. So you be peacefully living in your own province, and you be satisfied with whatever power you have. There is nobody as powerful as you. Just be satisfied with that. So after Shiva gave him that kind of pacified him in that way, then Shiva was actually standing guarding this foolish fellow's entire province, this Banasura's province. And then we will hear the story how there ensued a fight between Krishna and Banasura in the next session. So I'll take some questions now. Here is a question. Wasn't Markandeya eternal at the age of 16 only? In the previous sessions we heard about Markandeya Rishi. So the question being asked is, isn't he eternal? Here is meant there are actually Sapta Chiranjeevis. That means they don't die normally when everybody dies at the end of their 100 years or their lifespan. So these Chiranjeevis stay till end of the day of Brahma, till the dissolution of the entire universe happens. So Markandeya, he became this Chiranjeevi when he was 16. Yes, that's correct. Markandeya achieved that position of becoming a Chiranjeevi because of his severe austerities and because of his Akhanda Brahmacharya. He was a very austere, celibate person. Therefore, he achieved that status of Chiranjeevi. That's correct. Next question. Is Lord Buddha an incarnation of Lord Vishnu? Yes, Lord Buddha is an incarnation, but we don't follow the philosophy enunciated by Lord Buddha. Why? Because Lord Buddha taught a philosophy to actually bewilder the atheists who were engaged in animal killing without any mercy on the poor animals. What had happened before Buddha's appearance? People, in the name of Vedic sacrifices, they were engaged in animal killing indiscriminately. Now, nowhere in the Vedic scriptures there is a prescription of indiscriminate animal killing in the name of yajna. No, it is highly restricted. But as we are living in an age called Kali Yuga, people don't care for the restrictions mentioned in the Vedas when even they try to follow some Vedic prescriptions or Vedic injunctions. So yes, there is some concession given to meat eaters that they may kill an animal and partake the flesh only under very, 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 very restricted conditions. What do the scriptures say about animal sacrifice? Only a goat can be sacrificed. That also only a goat can be sacrificed to goddess Kali. And a goat can be sacrificed to goddess Kali only on Amavasya, once a month. And that also a particular kind of goat. The specification is given in the Shastra. Not that any goat, they can simply cut its head and do the sacrificial offering. No, it is a specific type of goat that is suitable for being offered to Kali in sacrifice. And it has to be only Kali, not any other form of Durga. Durga has many, many forms. In all forms she doesn't accept. As Kali, she has got her witch associates, Rakshasis. So those Rakshasis will be the ones who will be accepting this offering of this goat flesh. It is not Kali herself is a Vaishnavi. She will never touch any non-vegetarian stuff. She only eats pure Krishna Prasadam, Vishnu Prasadam. So these restrictions people in Kali Yuga don't follow. They simply make some show of doing some so-called sacrifice. In fact, they have taken to killing of not only a goat, they kill chickens and offer to Kali. They kill buffalo and offer to Kali. They kill all kinds of, it's unmentionable now in this kind of sacred environment. It's unmentionable what all they do, nonsense. So Buddha came to stop this animal killing in the name of Vedic sacrifices. So it was an emergency situation. So what did Buddha teach? That he taught people to reject the Vedas. To reject the Vedas. Because in the name of Vedas, people are misusing that little concession that is given for meat eaters who are addicted to meat eating, to restrict their meat eating, to restrict their animal killing. Whatever little concession was given, they were misusing. So to stop this misuse, Buddha actually very, very powerful influence he had on people in general. So when people became completely mesmerized by his appearance, by his preaching, then he taught them to reject the Vedas. And he taught ahimsa paramo dharmaha. Non-violence is the supreme religious principle. Actually, in scriptures it is said non-violence is one of the religious principles, but it is a subordinate religious principle to higher religious principles. There are other higher religious principles, like satya, then tyaga, then tapa. All these are superior religious principles. Truthfulness. Actually, dharma stands on 4 pillars. Truthfulness, austerity, and like that. There are 4 pillars of dharma. Now, these subordinate principles are there to support these primary principles of dharma, like ahimsa. So, this ahimsa is a sub-religious principle or a subordinate religious principle. Buddha made it the supreme religious principle. And in that way, Buddha was able to stop animal killing for the time being. So, Buddha's philosophy is meant for an emergency situation, to stop these atheists from indiscriminate animal killing. Ahimsa is a supreme religious principle. But actually scriptures, authentic Vedic scriptures describe ahimsa is a religious principle but not a supreme religious principle. So in that way, what Buddha taught was for stopping the atheists from actually indiscriminate animal killing. That was the only purpose for which Buddha appeared. And then later on, acharyas came and explained how the Vedas are teaching actually ahimsa as a principle, but not the ultimate religious principle. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.